Alright, the theme of today's video is copium. Oh my god. So, you saw the title, and honestly, it's kind of obvious. As the series progresses, hopefully, if the author hasn't run out of ideas, they're going to become a better writer over time. They're going to produce better books, again, unless they ran out of ideas. I think we have probably all had the experience of discovering a series that had like a really good opening premise, and then it kind of stretched on, and then it kind of got weird, and you started seeing retcons, and it just kind of gets forced, and you kind of feel their desperation to make money, and not talking about that. A author, given their creative freedom and practice and criticism, will get better book over book over book, which is kind of like the curse of doing a long series, because the series will theoretically improve book over book over book until you get really good stuff where you can have really diehard fans because of the late entries in a series. When the entry is kind of rocky, and that can actually make it hard to get into the series, because if you're like me and you encounter something like the Dresden Files and people are like, I love it so much that I reread the entire series every October, you kind of get through book one, you're like, okay, he's investigator, detective guy, he's a wizard in Chicago investigating supernatural crimes. This book one is very uninspired. You get exactly what that pitch describes, which isn't a bad thing. And you know what? Between that and people saying it was really good, I went into the next book, which is the same thing except werewolves. And there was like a 2-year gap between me reading book 2 and book 3 because the werewolf book, like Full Moon or whatever the hell it's called, was garbage. It was genuinely horrible to read. One of the worst books I read. It completely killed all interest I had in the Dresden Files series. But people kept bugging me to read it. And eventually I gave it. Out of interest, study, and because I started the YouTube channel, I was just like, okay, if people if people like this, I should be making content about it, even if it's me saying why I don't like it. So I read Grave Peril. And frankly, it was one of the best books I've read this year. I touched on this in the live stream on Will Jordan's Dark Harvest, where I point out that like this dude must have signed a contract with the devil or something, because the amount of improvement between book 2 and book 3 is shocking to the point of almost impossible, it seems. I'm told there are some personal life matters that happen and change, and he got some new leeway working with his editors and such. But frankly, it's just significantly better, and it is clear evidence that the author is improving at the craft, refining the ideas, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. I'm actually rather excited to continue into the series as I go forward. The long and short of the plot of Grave Peril, this has now been a couple weeks, and I've been grinding through other books right in the meantime, is that one of the previous bad guys has come back as this nightmare demon monster ghost, and is attacking people in their dreams, but it's actually tied up in some vampire court political shenanigans. But what really matters is that you are getting a more endearing look at Harry. He has more agency in the way that he approaches the mystery. He's not tied down by needing to work with the police and the FBI and all that, because it is purely a supernatural thing that he has to solve to protect the people important to him. He has like basically a sidekick in the form of Michael the Paladin, and they are able to actually bounce off of each other, and it gives the entire story actually it's got one foot in the atheist and one foot in the Christian pile as far as outlook goes, because Harry doesn't get along with God. He doesn't deny God or anything. He's just not a religious guy, which is of course like par for the course for modern Americans. But he's backed up by, like, literally a warrior of God. His power is fueled by faith. And it works. It's not like all the fey creatures and demons and monsters and magic are there to refute the presence of the Almighty. It's actually basically quite the opposite. Which, I guess I was just going into the series expecting the opposite, because I've just been so conditioned by more popular subversive tropes, where like, oh, don't you know that the church is secretly the bad guys? Don't you know that the angels are really evil? They're just these authoritarian, order-enforcing, mindless drones that want to enslave you and secretly have their own devices? It's like, no, it actually is just straight up like warrior of God and kills a bunch of bad guys, which is very refreshing. Though it's actually an old story, but whatever, I'm happy with it, okay? And you start getting into Harry's backstory with the bad deals he made with his fairy godmother and sources of magic and the way that the Never Never works and stuff like that. And I could do like a lore deep dive, but I probably have to reread the book a few times. I'm just not interested in doing that, because for me, the takeaway that I got from it is how simply important it is that the main character of the story, even if it is a mystery, be likable. Harry Dresden is an underdog character, even though he's apparently like a walking nuclear weapon as far as magic is concerned. And you know what? He can just reach a little deeper and find a bit more willpower to cast Fuego with. Which, okay, that was kind of stupid. Allegedly, that also goes away as the author's basically writing skill improves. They stop using that as a kind of climactic reveal, because really you can only do that so many times. So long story short, Dresden Files pick up pretty good. You might be able to just skip 1 and 2. Like I really don't know how much you learn that you need to know in books 1 and 2. You probably could just jump to 3. Maybe that's blasphemy. I don't know. But the reason that I started saying that this is copium is I'm sitting here trying to talk about a book that I just read and I liked, and to encourage people to read it. And it's because it's a good example of a series might have had a rocky start, but it still is shaping up well. Which means that, like, even when you're me and you write a book that has like flaws, people will still be there for the sequel, hopefully, because like I was just talking with someone after the personal reviews, the retrospectives. Someone reached out to me to say they just finished Ship of Fools here, and they basically agreed spot on with my own assessment. Plot is reasonable, but the side characters just didn't live enough to make the plot engaging enough. And then they said that, however, the setting and the use of the setting was about as good as it gets, and it could be a masterclass lesson subject because it was just perfect as far as they were concerned. They also did like the main character and all that. So I'm just like, well, at least I'm doing something right. At least I can rely on that and shore up my other features, because I know that bringing the side characters into full engaging vibrancy and making it easy and fun to read about the other characters is like one of the most important things you can do when telling a story. It's something I think that I'm tackling and improving on because I'm consciously working towards it. So I've got some optimism for the future. All right. I definitely gotta go back to this setting though, because the tools at my disposal as far as like the narrative goes, of the way technology works and faster than light, and the conflicts inherent in the setting are just perfect. They're rife for more space opera adventure, more military sci-fi stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be writing a novella in the Ship of Fools universe next year, so you should definitely like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments that you're gonna stick around for that novella. But obviously, Dresden Files, that's probably what you clicked on the video for. Great Peril, Book 3, quite good. Tune in, subscribe, and you'll get my review and my thoughts on Book 4, maybe December time frame. Don't quote me. I've got a lot on my plate. Okay. Till then, cheers.